A welcome Wednesday to you all, minutes after 6 bells. Seems like it's been too long since the two of us have been in studio. So long that there is a frigid in the air. A little cool and a little extra cool for me. Rex Stevens in studio with the Olympian Paul Terra. Coming back from Hawaii, my friend. Hitting this weather, it's not what I was expecting. November was exceedingly warm. I think we hit very, very high temperatures. I'm at 82, 84 degrees on the Big Island. Little humidity, getting a good sweat on every day. Make that step back into LAX airport, come up here. Big surprise.
It's been a little cold lately, but I do think we need to keep it in perspective. You know, Coach Mara's been in here talking. We've had him on the show before. Recently, he was back in Wisconsin. His wife had been wishing for snow. You know, I just haven't seen much snow, she tells him. They go back to Wisconsin. Snow. Nothing but snow.
Does it crack you up being a Midwest guy, having grown up in the Midwest, when they start to talk about rumors of snow here this weekend? One of the first things I heard when I walked back into the office today.
It's like 55, and they're like, I think it's going to snow. No, it's not going to snow.
The perspective of real cold. But I tell you, it is a big change on our body. And again, one of the things that we focus in on this show, again, is fitness, using fitness to get healthy. And certainly the way in which our body works in the cold is different than the way that it works in the heat, sweating mechanisms, cooling mechanisms, etc. And, again, another opportunity, I think, to get into what we've talked about so repetitively, but I think it deserves repetition, is where are you thriving? How are you adapting? And how do you make your body maximize its potential? Again, in Hawaii, humidity was a little higher. We don't really have humidity here in San Luis Obispo. So spending some time just kind of listening to the body, changing some pace, getting out there, playing with some endurance and so forth, to just get a perspective of the way I work in that versus the way somebody else does, getting away from formulas and starting to pay a little bit more attention to our own health.
Yeah, the one thing that I've noticed, I'm obviously not in the shape I was competing, but the one thing that I've noticed is when the temperature changes or the conditions change, I don't adapt as well when I'm not in shape. When I was in shape, we'd go from Michigan. It would be, 40 degrees. I remember my senior year, it was snowing outside. Our last practice before we came to Mount Sac Relays, which is in, I believe it's in April, and we still had some snow flurries outside. And, practice one day there, get on a plane, fly out here, and it's like, 75, 80 degrees, beautiful down south, and easy to adapt. You spend 15 or 20 minutes out in the weather, hour or two out in the weather, and you're starting to acclimate a little bit. Same thing when we went to Baton Rouge, where it was like 100% humidity and 105 degrees. And now that I'm in a little less, a little worse shape, we'll say, I find out that when it does get cold, it's harder to motivate myself to get outside. And then when I'm outside, it's a little harder to regulate my breathing and just try to find a stride or, just feel good. So,
hey, tuning in for the first time. We meet every Wednesday here on ESPN 1280, The Ticket, from 6 to 7. It's generally not Paul and I, even though it's supposed to be every Wednesday. But if you want to listen to us online, you can too, livingtherun.com. Or go to facebook.com/livingtherun to follow the podcast. Last time we were in, a couple weeks ago, we missed last Thanksgiving. We ran a rerun of a show, but Samantha Pruitt in, and she brought up a good point. I thought that people ask all the time, what are you training for? And, you trained for so long for the decathlon, for the Olympics, for different events coming forward. But, her answer simply, and she, of course, she was doing her first century run, and she completed that, and she's doing kind of that ultra world thing, but her answer was just simply, I'm training for life. It's life. And that is the reality. And we need to get more to that, looking at, for most of us who aren't in competitive mode, we're looking at human potential for the longevity or quality of life for the longevity. Changing that frame of mind, not always easy.
No, I was just going to say, very difficult for me. I probably spent 2 years, maybe a solid 3 years after competing, where it was, I wanted to go train, I wanted to do it, and then when I would go out and do it, my heart wasn't in it. I didn't want, you know what I mean? I used to love to train. I used to love to get out to get the heart rate going, get sweat, and get to the point that I couldn't see straight. And now it's like, I go out for a jog and 5, 10, 15 minutes into it, it's like, yeah, I'm kind of done. I still struggle finding that motivation, that carrot on the stick to push it, to the limit.
Good interview in about 10 minutes. We're going to have Karen Aydelott, who's a fan of Living the Run. She's been in before. Amputee, lost her leg in her 50s, was an Ironman triathlete then. She's come back. She has a very, very interesting story. In fact, she got featured on, I believe it's NBC who ran it, NBC's recap of Kona Ironman this year. 1 month later, she's finishing the Arizona Ironman. Awesome athlete. Interesting story, and you'll see why she got featured. It's a great story. You're not going to want to miss what happened to her in Kona. But let's go to the blood boiler, Paul. We do this each and every week. We kind of sit there and say, hey, what do we do to get our blood to boil each and every day? It doesn't have to be a time frame. It's just, how do I get blood moving a little bit better than just sitting around, missing a day and taking that day and doing it? What'd you do today?
Today was, of course, today. It was my day off at work. We didn't work out today at work. Tonight I have so I've developed a workout with my son. It's totally awesome. He loves it, where I get some abs in, I get some squats in, I get some like pullovers in and some presses with him. It's kind of fun for him because he's like, oh, he's sitting on daddy's back, or I'm holding him up like an airplane, but I'm getting a workout while we're doing it. So he's having a great time. We're kind of bonding. I'm getting a workout in, and that's the plan for tonight.
Hey, that's pretty good. I had one of those days that sometimes people have, and I thought it was worth kind of recapping on is those days that you spend time sitting, often you feel more fatigued than when you do physically really exerting.
Well, you just got off a red eye too, though. I think there's a like a disclaimer on that. It's not like you just woke up this morning and then sat all day.
Yeah, we left at 10:30 last night, flew for 5 hours. You land, you sit for a little bit longer, you get up, then you drive for another 3 hours coming up here. I hit the office after that. But what I did is we had a couple times with little opportunities to sprint against my sons. And I was doing them as frequently as I could. We started last night because I knew, we ate dinner real late last night because the flight wasn't until 10:45. So I knew, hey, here's an opportunity. Let's sprint in the parking lot. There's no cars around. We're like the only people coming in this restaurant.
Teaching your kids to run in the parking lot. Nice job, Rex.
Yeah, well, obstacles. Kind of like Frogger, I learned on Frogger.
Teaching a periphery vision. Nice, good job.
And so it was hilarious. We'd done it enough, then we got to a new parking lot at the airport, and I tried to race my son again. He says, Dad, I'm tired. We ran too much at the last parking lot. And I thought, oh, okay. But any opportunity to get the blood to boil, especially if you're going to be sitting for a long period of time. But fun stuff. I did a lot of stuff over in Hawaii, similar to what you're talking about, taking the kids, doing presses with them over your head in the pool, doing some kind of high knee, just constantly trying to move, not necessarily in a competitive way again, but to get the blood to move in a way that is more than just a sedentary rate. Good stuff.
Yeah, that's where I've struggled is trying to get out of the competitive mindset of, I really got to get out there and I got to do this because I have a big meet or I have a big competition down the road, and just getting out there to do it, because if I don't, I'm going to die sooner. Well, it's down to.
That's how it works. Don't forget, guys, tonight after our show, the CJ Silas Show at 7 o'clock. Followed 10 o'clock, another local show, the Slow Late Show. Blood Boiler was always brought to you and always fun by Art Cyclery, artcyclery.com. Guys, go to them, not just because of the holiday discounts, but because of the way they take care of you. Customer service at the top and nobody more knowledgeable. All right, Paul, I got a little bone to pick. I mean, here's the deal. It drives me crazy when I hear the way a lot of people eat. And I go today to just pick up a smoothie before going into the office so I can have a smoothie there as I'm going, back and forth between rooms and so forth. And where do I go in? I see the high school crowd coming from over Slow High, and they go into this cafe, and probably 6, 7, high school kids, all girls, and all seven order a sugary coffee drink for lunch.
Because it's popular, man. It's totally popular to have a sweet latte mocha frappuccino.
I don't get it. At what point do you not sense that an hour later, 1.5 hours later, whatever it might be, the down was not worth the up?
But they're not
of the sugar rush.
Honestly,
the caffeine rush.
So I can tell you that, because from your perspective, your upbringing, you were more natural. You learned about these things early on, and you lived your life this way, right? people aren't, dude. I wasn't ever on that radio station. I was never in tune to what you could have told me that 10 years ago, and it's like, nah, whatever. I had nutritionists be like, no, you can't eat those red vines. I'm like, I bet I can eat this bucket of red vines. They're like, no, it's not a bet. You just can't eat those. They're not good for you. I'm like, no, they taste great. People don't learn that growing up, and when it becomes the popular thing, go to Starbucks, go. You know, I remember being in college and my roommate going, you know what, I'm going to Starbucks to get something. And I'm like, oh, why would you pay $5 for coffee? And then sure enough, 10 years later, I'm at a Starbucks paying $5 for a cup of coffee. And then I'm kind of having this revelation of like, wait, why am I doing this? Like, I don't even like this coffee. What is going on? Maybe this is what an addict feels like. You know, why am I doing this? I don't want to do that. And then, 20 minutes later, it's like, oh, well, I've done it.
Yeah, I mean, and you can read some science, some different authors will suggest that sugar is by far the most addictive substance out there, far more than any of your pharmaceuticals, illicit drugs, etc. People are just flat out addicted to sugar. Speaking of addicted to sugar, these two guys sitting out here, in studio, these guys that run the Slow Late Show, it's absolutely stunning what these guys will bring in. You talk red vines, they're bringing in nonsense repeatedly, Monster drinks, Red Bull. Look, they don't even tune us in anymore, but I'm impressed. You brought in a bag full of grapes. Now, I'm a bit concerned. I got to tell the listeners, guys, the grapes the Olympian Paul Tarek brought in.
I don't eat normal grapes. I eat Olympic grapes.
He brought in Olympic grapes. These things, gigantic. I asked him if it was because they had a few extra pesticides on them. He assured me that he washed them and that they're rinsed thoroughly, and that I'm not going to get cancer as a result of eating.
I didn't know. I didn't guarantee.
Olympian grape.
I said probably. I didn't guarantee anything. Here's again, growing up around these things, you just don't know. You never think about it until you're introduced to it. It never even crosses your mind. When you're a kid and I'm eating grapes, I'm like, man, I'm eating healthy fruit. This is great. But you never think that, man, the company that's making these is dumping all this stuff on them. I should probably wash them off.
Speaking of, let's talk about that coming after the break. Karen Aydelott coming in after the break, Ironman triathlete, a guest of Living the Run before. A great story in this year's Kona Ironman. Just more perseverance from this tremendous athlete. Let's talk what we may have changed Thanksgiving this year as compared to Thanksgivings in the past, making a few improvements, especially in your diet.
What did I change this year?
Yeah. Save it for after the break.
I'll totally forget by then.
Hey, stick with us here on Living the Run. Back in moments.
You're listening to Living the Run on ESPN Radio 1280 The Ticket.
Hey guys, Paul Tarek from Living the Run here. As a former Olympian, there is only one place myself and fellow athletes go when it comes to chiropractic care on the Central Coast. With 4 chiropractors in the clinic, Slow Wellness Center is the largest, most comprehensive group of docs in San Luis Obispo County. I began seeing Dr. Rex Stevens back in 2005 for spinal adjustments to help maximize my performance, minimize my injury, and allow me to compete at my best. When the difference between a win and a loss can be just a fraction of an inch, perfect alignment in all joints is essential. One of the great things about the team at Slow Wellness is no matter where I had an issue, whether it was my spine, my foot, knee, wrist, or shoulder, they were always able to help. This team, made up of Dr. Rex and Molly Stevens, Dr. Sachs, and Dr. Bandolo, is sure to help you reach your health and fitness goals too. If it's chiropractic care you need, go where I go, Slow Wellness Center. Check them out at slowwellness.com or call 543-8688.
Hey everyone, Eric Fiallo here from LeftLaneSports.com. Are you tired of paying full retail on your favorite outdoor and endurance brands? Well, whether you run, bike, swim, hike, climb, or surf, LeftLaneSports.com has got you covered. Save 50 to 70% off retail every day on brands like Under Armour, Asics, New Balance, Timex, Hurley, Patagonia, and more. Visit LeftLaneSports.com and sign up for a free membership. Plus, save on shipping by picking up your order at our headquarters in San Luis Obispo. LeftLaneSports.com. Gear you need, prices you want, service you deserve.
This is Scott from Arts Cyclery. This year, Arts has the largest selection of kids' bikes on the Central Coast. Let us take the stress out of your holidays by offering a layaway and a convenient purchase bike storage solution, where we store the bike until Santa picks it up for the big day. Grown-ups, we have an awesome selection of bikes and accessories for you too. Come in now until December 24th and spin the wheel of deals and take up to 30% off your purchase. Huge selection, friendly staff, and low prices at Arts Cyclery, 181 Suburban Road, San Luis Obispo.
Hey everybody. Tara Kulikoff, San Luis Obispo resident, here to speak on behalf of Gardens by Gabriel and my experience. As a landscaper in the county, they are hands down my top pick. They're honest, knowledgeable, passionate, and detail-oriented. The owner, Gabriel Frank, is a true botanical zealot who adds his own creative ideas while respecting my needs and working with the ecosystem. His crew is phenomenal. They are so helpful and so hardworking. My front yard is absolutely perfect. So dig them at gardensbygabriel.com.
We're back with Living the Run.
Offering grapes, unwashed grapes, to our guests. Is that how we do it here now?
Hey, I'm just trying to spread the wealth. I had grapes. She looked hungry. I offered grapes.
Jeez. If you just tuned in, you're listening to Living the Run. Follow us on livingtherun.com.
The regulatory agency over there, Rex Stevens. Those grapes washed. You don't ever offer unwashed grapes to anybody.
We're on the road to nowhere fast tonight, I think. Hey, luckily, this next guest is going to bring it up because she did last time. Although you already harassed her about the T-shirt.
I thought she was going to have it. I thought she was going to have it by now.
For this visit as well. One of my favorite athletes on the Central Coast, Karen Aydelott. Thanks for coming back in with us.
Thank you, Rex. It's nice to be here.
And it's always nice to sit next to the Olympian, isn't it?
Absolutely. It might rub off.
It might rub off. Well, speaking of rubbing off, those that know your story know that you've been through so much, losing a leg, once a competitor with two, now still a competitor with one, qualifier for Kona World Championships this year, and whoa, what a race that was for you. Tell the story. Just absolutely stunning. All I can say is this. When I woke up the next morning, because your time wasn't in, and I saw the time, I thought for sure it must be a misprint. It couldn't possibly be. Tell us how you got the time and what all happened in that race.
Well, the cutoff time for all WTC Ironman races is 17 hours, which has always in the past seemed like more than enough time. I never even thought about it. I never thought about cutoffs for the swim or the bike or any of that. And I still don't need to worry about those. But this particular year, I was 47 seconds too slow. So I crossed the finish line at 17 hours and 47 seconds. It was a very, very exciting moment. It certainly wasn't what I planned. And up until the run, I was well ahead of schedule and feeling pretty good. And I actually had the first 10 miles of the run went very well. But my running leg was making this weird sound and flopping around a little bit. And I had no idea what was going on. I couldn't see anything wrong with it. I thought that maybe the sole, which attaches to the carbon fiber C leg, I have a distance running cheetah, was loose, but it didn't seem like that was it. I wear a sleeve to keep the socket on, and sometimes that slides down and I get a motion. That wasn't it. At 10 miles, I was able to have my handler take a look at it, and it was coming unbolted. So, as Andy Potts told me the next day, who has a mechanical on the run? Well, I did. And fixing it was a very complicated process. So the first thing my handler tried to do it with his hands, and that doesn't work at all. It turns out you need an adjustable wrench, and a bike tool doesn't work either. And by mile 13, I kept running, but I'm like wiggling back and forth.
Yeah, loose wheel.
Yeah, basically. And at mile 13, somebody ran and got an adjustable wrench and tightened it down. Don't know if it was still aligned right, but at least it wasn't flopping around. At first, it felt, then after mile 13, the weird thing is he had to get permission to touch me, even though I already had. And so we had to find medical. Fortunately, they were very nearby, and they gave permission because there's no tech vans on the run. And off I went. It didn't felt like it was going to come unscrewed again, but it seemed to back on, and it stayed fine. But by then, I could hardly stand up straight. My back had started to spasm. As Rex knows, I have 4 fused vertebrae in my lower back post being hit by a car. And, one more challenge.
Well, Carol, what's the time lapse of them having to get approval to be able to have him touch you and use the wrench? A few minutes?
Yeah, it was only a few minutes because I was lucky. They were right there. Getting the wrench took longer. I just kept going. But at mile 13, that was it. So we got it fixed, got the permission, got it fixed, and I kept running as best I could. But eventually what happened is I had to keep stopping and stretching. I hooked up with a wonderful woman. This is part of the fun of doing these races, is you meet very neat people, and sometimes you can stay connected. And so we've been able to do that. And we were able to kind of work with each other to keep both of us going. But at the point at which I was stopping more than I was running to stretch just to see if I could stand back up straight, I told her she had to go on. So she made the cutoff. But I had a lot of people yelling and screaming and cheering.
Yeah, talk that last mile, because the guy that MCs that, and I can't think of his name.
Yeah, Mike Riley is just awesome.
He's a hoot. I mean, he's just a neat guy. And I had watched the pros finish.
Yeah.
And he is just so fun to listen to. But he came out and met you.
Yeah, he has more enthusiasm than 100 people. And he was going to retire, but apparently he can't give up doing what he does.
Yeah, they can't get a replacement for him.
He goes, except for the races that are, on the same day, he's at just about every one. And I've gotten to know him. And so I was getting a little bit of help from my handler at that point, and Mike Riley came out towards me. I was very close. In fact, I thought I made it because there were pads that I went over right at 17 hours or a few seconds before, but it really wasn't the finish line. And he dragged me as I'm bent over and I guess I was really hoofing it, but it was just not fast enough.
Again, talking to Karen Aydelott here.
It was very disappointing because everything was going so well till the bolts loosened up.
I want to say this again, Karen Aydelott here on Living the Run, Ironman triathlete, talking an incredible Kona experience. Describe for the listeners who don't know Kona the difference between Kona's finish there. It's at midnight, right? Midnight Hawaii time.
Midnight Hawaii time is over. It's over.
It's over. And how deep and how stacked that region is, and how much noise is actually being made there.
It's almost on the pier where we start. It's on Ali'i Drive. It's the whole way down Ali'i Drive. There are people, and there are probably more people at midnight than maybe except for when the pros finish. It is crazy. And even some of the pros come back to be there. Miranda Carfrey was there. I got my picture taken with her. I was still okay. I was smiling. I mean, I was fine, except for I was bent over. And people are just yelling and yelling and yelling. It's totally deafening.
Describe the athletic experience. I mean, some may look at it, 40 seconds short, what have you. But in the midst of it all, you never had anything like that happen before. You hadn't had to deal with mechanical issues on your leg.
No.
Running. When you look back at it, how does it rank, and what'd you learn from the?
I had I have one of my prosthetists was in Hawaii. I had him check another leg. Did not occur to either one of us that this one could have a problem. So that's one lesson learned. Check everything, even a leg that's bolted in with Loctite. And other than that, I think just like in any long distance event, you just have to go with the flow. You do the best you can. You always have to deal with unexpected things. This was a little over the top unexpected, but I think that's the way you approach it. And I actually, in many ways, it was a very successful effort. I got everything for finishing except that at the end of my time it says DNF, but I crossed the finish line. I got the medal. It's my 13th from Hawaii, from the Kona, from the World Championship.
13 World Championship races, Paul.
Yeah, and a win in 1997. So
1997, you won.
My
What
age
age
group.
group was that?
I was in the 50s.
50s.
Yeah,
Ooh, what was that time?
11:49.
11:49.
Now it
So-
wouldn't even have gotten in the top 5. The
Ele-
times have gotten so much faster.
11:49.
Yeah.
I'll have to call our good buddy Dave Sullivan, who finished in a smoking 13:50, I think. He said 13:20, 13:20. So I'll have to call him.
Well, that was, then and not now. But I did finish Arizona 5 weeks later.
But that's the other thing is that we had Matt Russell on, who also he finished top 20 at Kona.
I know,
and then
awesome.
4 or 5 weeks later is over there in Arizona. Most even Ironman triathletes will say crazy, too close.
But there were several of us there.
There were several of
More
you there.
pros than
Maybe
age
you're all
groupers.
crazy. But a successful race 5 weeks
Yeah.
later. So
Yeah.
you came out. You didn't let it get you down. Come out, run a good one in Arizona.
Pretty good.
And,
I was doing really well. Best bike I think I've had since I lost my leg. 17.9 miles an hour. Nothing to write home about, but I am 67, almost 68. I was doing fine on the run, and I knew that there was a really good chance my back might not hold up. And I was also, my stump was starting to feel swollen. It turned out I was rubbing some skin. It's just hazards of my occupation. My avocation, not my occupation.
Well, Paul, you were harassing her a little bit on that.
Well, I wouldn't say harassing. I was just asking. Had she had made the comment. Are you referring to the T-shirt?
No, I
not
think
the wounds.
the wounds.
And you
wasn't-
said she was being too hard on them.
Well, no,
She's
I
an
wasn't.
Ironman
That's what I'm saying.
triathlete.
I
Of
wasn't
course she's
hassling
being hard on
her.
them.
I was just saying that it's not like, these things aren't designed. It's not like when they design the prosthesis that they're going, oh, you know what? And we just need to make sure we get something that somebody can do an Ironman in, or run a marathon in. That's not what that's not what they think. They're like comfort and mobility, and you're just pushing it to. You've redlined the prosthesis.
Although I have to say that I've entered a wonderful new sort of world of athletes who are also amputees or have some other physical issue that makes it more challenging. And it's an amazing, wonderful group of people who have the same sort of can-do attitude and who don't really let anything get in the way. We have the same kinds of goals. We might not be out there to win anymore, but everybody has goals and has a sense of satisfaction. And in Arizona, 4 of my friends, 3 of whom were doing their first, finishing their first Ironmans as amputees, all had great races. They're all young. But
Hey,
It's funny. I was thinking though. You just said that. I can think of numerous professional athletes, at least at the track and field level, where if something doesn't go perfectly right, they get their shoes, they go to the track, and if there's like a wrinkle in time, the whole race is lost. They're so stressed out about it, and they don't have to worry about their leg coming unbolted, or you know what I'm saying? They're just things like that they don't worry about. And like you just said, you just deal with it in stride. You have your goals. You understand there's going to be setbacks, and when you approach it like that, you just seem like you're happier, just in general. Just
well, and I think you're actually more successful, particularly. I mean, you're talking about people who probably have to have a perfect race in a short period of time, and very few people have a fully perfect Ironman distance or ultra running. Because it always is elements that are slightly unpredictable. You can get your goggles can get knocked off in the swim. I got kicked so hard it split my lip once.
flat tires on a bike.
Yeah, I mean, things happen.
But to some people, those would be race breakers. They'd be getting, oh my gosh, I got a flat tire, my time is ruined, and they're just mentally out of it.
Yeah.
And I'm just impressed by that, the mentality of, hey, things are going to happen. We'll deal with them when they happen, and we'll keep going. And you just seem like you're in a better place because of it.
Absolutely.
Hey, Karen, thanks for coming in. Before you go, will you tell us, was this the first time you were featured on the recap? Was it NBC that does that?
Yes.
NBC does it, right? The
Yes.
1 hour
Yes.
kind of recap.
It was an hour and a half, and yes, it's the first time I've showed up 2 other times, just a quick shot. But this is the first time they actually featured me.
Yeah, what was the
And
focus? I still haven't seen it yet.
It was a finish. It was
It
a
was the
little
finish,
bit
so-
of my story and the finish. Not unfortunately. I mean, it would have been nice if they'd explained why I was bent over, or at least mentioned that my leg had fallen apart. But
They left that part out.
Yeah, they left that part out. But it was very nice. They did the whole show was good this year. It was a very good show. And I actually showed up which is the first time that's ever happened. They always do a beautiful video. They put together the next day. I mean, it's done for the award ceremony. And I was in there 3 times.
Phenomenal. Hey, real
So-
quick, what's on tap for 2014?
Doing the half in California, in Oceanside. I'm going back to St. George, but it's just the half. And then Whistler.
Only a half, Paul.
I was just. I
And
didn't
then
wanna say.
a full Ironman in Whistler, Canada. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, beautiful.
Got to work on my climbing. And then back to Arizona.
Good stuff. Again, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Thanks
It's
for-
always fun. I enjoy it.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
enduring
so
the
much.
Olympian. And,
And now I can eat
maybe
some grapes.
participate in a few of these pesticide-laden, unwashed grapes
I-
the Olympian offered you as a thank you for coming in.
Yeah, you know what? I looked at the website that's on the bag, and I really did try to, ascertain what was in or on the grapes, and
Well, they
there's
were
nothing.
at least grown in the U.S., so that's a start.
They're grown in California.
Grown in
Even better.
California. Good stuff. We grow good grapes here, especially on the Central Coast. More from Living the Run, much, much more. Nice to have you back in studio, Paul.
I was just
Been
saying
too
that.
long. More here, Living
And
the
I
Run.
expect my T-shirt.
And next.
You're listening to Living the Run on ESPN Radio 1280 The Ticket.
Hey guys, Paul Tarek from Living the Run here. As a former Olympian, there is only one place myself and fellow athletes go when it comes to chiropractic care on the Central Coast. With 4 chiropractors in the clinic, Slow Wellness Center is the largest, most comprehensive group of docs in San Luis Obispo County. I began seeing Dr. Rex Stevens back in 2005 for spinal adjustments to help maximize my performance, minimize my injury, and allow me to compete at my best. When the difference between a win and a loss can be just a fraction of an inch, perfect alignment in all joints is essential. One of the great things about the team at Slow Wellness is no matter where I had an issue, whether it was my spine, my foot, knee, wrist, or shoulder, they were always able to help. This team, made up of Dr. Rex and Molly Stevens, Dr. Sachs, and Dr. Bandolo, is sure to help you reach your health and fitness goals too. If it's chiropractic care you need, go where I go, Slow Wellness Center. Check them out at slowwellness.com or call 543-8688.
Hey everyone, Eric Fiallo here from leftlanesports.com. Are you tired of paying full retail on your favorite outdoor and endurance brands? Well, whether you run, bike, swim, hike, climb, or surf, leftlanesports.com has got you covered. Save 50 to 70% off retail every day on brands like Under Armour, Asics, New Balance, Timex, Hurley, Patagonia, and more. Visit leftlanesports.com and sign up for a free membership. Plus, save on shipping by picking up your order at our headquarters in San Luis Obispo. Leftlanesports.com. Gear you need, prices you want, service you deserve.
Hey, this is Tara Kulikoff, San Luis Obispo resident. Gardens by Gabriel is hands down my top pick for landscapers in San Luis Obispo County. Gardens by Gabriel is honest, knowledgeable, passionate, and detail-oriented. The owner, Gabriel Frank, is a true botanical zealot. He's able to add his own creative ideas while respecting my needs and working with the ecosystem that I live in. His crew is phenomenal. Their passion truly transformed my beautiful front yard. Dig them at gardensbygabriel.com.
This is Scott from Art Cyclery. This year, Art has the largest selection of kids' bikes on the Central Coast. Let us take the stress out of your holidays by offering a layaway and a convenient purchase bike storage solution, where we store the bike until Santa picks it up for the big day. Grown-ups, we have an awesome selection of bikes and accessories for you too. Come in now until December 24th and spin the wheel of deals and take up to 30% off your purchase. Huge selection, friendly staff, and low prices at Art Cyclery, 181 Suburban Road, San Luis Obispo.
We're back with Living the Run.
Hey, this segment brought to you by Hal Swayze and the team at teamswayze.com. When it comes to your first home, dream home, or investment property, check out Hal Swayze, 805-781-3750 or at teamswayze.com. Again, our favorite realtor here on the Central Coast. Nobody gets after it like Hal Swayze. When you talk about living the run, this guy's out there constantly physically active. And that's why he's attentive. That's why he remembers what's going on in the market. That's why he's paying attention to what's happening in your neighborhood. It's absolutely amazing, some of the stuff that you get out there in that profession, just like any profession. But Hal really takes it to the next level.
Yeah.
Check him out.
I've heard of him referred to as the Rex Stevens of the real estate world. So,
Could be. Hey, Karen Aydelott, Ironman triathlete, tremendous guest. She just, and maybe that's just what happens. I think we've seen it a lot, both of us in our lives. You see different people go through traumas, go through kind of adversity. Not everybody bounces back like Karen Aydelott. A winner at Kona gets run over by a car, fusion of the back, 8 surgeries later, losing the leg, comes back, battles back, and is back in Kona again. Phenomenal athlete.
it's incredible when she tells her story. It's inspiring in one breath, and then makes you feel totally terrible about I didn't get a run today because it was cloudy out or because I didn't have time. And it's just like, now it's like, now I want to go home and lift my kid a bunch, and then I need to go out for like a long run just to make up for it.
Exactly. Get that blood to boil, my friend. All right, let's talk about it. We mentioned Thanksgiving, and we talked to Virginia Merrim of Vert Foods prior to Thanksgiving. Just kind of talked about, hey, what are some strategies we might be able to do to use similar foods to what those traditional foods that we like, but to do them in a slightly healthier option. What would you say is the one thing that you guys did this year that 10, 15 years ago never would have shown up at a Paul Tarek Thanksgiving dinner?
Oh, well, so we have orphan Thanksgiving dinner. So it's not like the Tarek household makes Thanksgiving dinner. A friend of ours, Paul Schmidt, local personal trainer, he has all the local orphans who are from out of the area, no family around here. We all get together at his house. And, everybody makes something different. Usually, there's always a turkey, but then after that, there might be some sweet potatoes or yams. There might be cranberry sauce, but it's a lot of either salads or vegetables, all prepared in different ways. And I can't remember exactly what was in it, but one of his friends made a salad that was absolutely incredible. No salad dressing on it, but you couldn't tell. The salad was just so flavorful that you wouldn't know. Normally, the Tarek household 10 years ago would be, let's get some ranch dressing on this thing.
Is that what it was growing up? I mean, talk about what you had. When I think about what I had growing up, those ambrosia salads,
where did your childhood go?
The canned green beans, with the canned cream sauce, the mushroom cream sauce with all those, whatever those onion things that come in a can over the top, and they put that in the oven. The stuffing, just nothing was not out of a box or out of a can. The one I've loved this year that we've had a lot of variety with is some variety with the Brussels sprouts. So many different dishes, my wife and some of her friends and even family members have been playing with, and from raw forms of the Brussels sprouts to steamed to baked to by themselves, roasted, etc., to in salads to different concoctions. I love this one that her sister made this year. A couple different varieties of the sweet potatoes, some cauliflower, Brussels sprouts in there, broccoli, a lot of garlic. Just a brilliant combination of things versus just a massive pile of sweet potato or a massive pile of even mashed potato. We kind of did that instead of the mashed potato. It was just a fantastic creation. Hadn't had that one before.
Yeah, we're slowly moving in the right direction with the yams and the sweet potatoes. Before it was like, years ago we'd have the sweet potatoes and the syrup out of the can, and you cook all that up with like rice or with raisins and brown sugar, and it was marshmallows, whatever else you could put on it was totally terrible for you. And lately it's a lot more. Since we've been doing the show, things have been a lot more focused on like what are we eating and why are we eating it, and we're we eat for sustenance now, not so much for flavor and goodness kind of thing. I know it sounds kind of weird, but that's kind of a different approach, and it really helps me make a little better choices when I'm making dinner, when we're finding something to eat.
Yeah, I thought about you the last time we had this show. One of the things I'd gotten talking to a patient about in the office was the different prices per pound on meat. And when you start to look at things like organic meat versus the not, so many people scoff at the pricing, but I think you just hit on something that was pretty good is that notion that price per pound, looking at things at price per pound versus just looking at pure quality in your own health, it's just a different avenue or a different picture of seeing things. I kind of challenged him to say, hey, instead of saying, I want to buy that meat for $5 a pound because I don't want to spend the $10 a pound on the organic, man, spend the same amount of money, just buy less of the meat.
But that's that's not the world that we grow up in and live in. We always talk about value and deals, and unfortunately, it's like how many guys barbecue have you been with that talk about how good of a deal they got on the meat that they're barbecuing? Not like how great it is, but it's like, oh yeah, I bought 8 pounds of this for 25 cents a pound. It's like they don't. And all the guys saying, oh, that's a great deal. Oh, hook me up with your meat guy or something. It's just that's the world we live in. That's how we've been raised. And, to this like consumerist society, where you have to get a deal and you have to buy stuff, and not like you said, saying, hey, buy the better stuff, just get less of it and supplement with, some vegetables or some side dishes that are just as healthy.
Yeah. I was talking to this guy when I was in Hawaii this last week from Seattle, and I was thinking about Gardens by Gabriel, a good sponsor of this show, and just that ability to use guys like Gabriel Frank, his botanical knowledge, his edible knowledge, his just ability to kind of get us through different seasons and to eat seasonally and so forth. Again, if you ever want to find Gabe, check him out at gardensbygabriel.com, 805-215-0511. But, up in Seattle, you can't grow everything like we can here at the same rates. And it makes for a big difference when you start to talk about how many farmers markets we have available to us, all those edibles. And he made the comment, he said, man, it's incredible. He goes, aren't you guys the town? He goes, I've never been to San Luis Obispo, but aren't you guys the town that doesn't allow fast food drive-thrus? And don't you have some of those really strict smoking laws? And I said, yeah. He goes, yeah, I feel like I've read about you guys.
Yeah, don't forget our plastic bag ban too, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. And he goes, I mean, how does your town get away with it without fast food drive-thrus? And I was like, we got farmers markets, man. Farmers markets every day of the week, and that's what we eat. It's pretty neat when you stop and think about how lucky we are to be in a town where McDonald's are closing down, Burger Kings don't exist. It's just and nobody's in that hustle bustle. And some of this whole thing about getting sustenance is tasting your food and slowing the whole thing down rather than scarfing your food and not paying attention at all to not only what you're eating, but how it makes you feel 1 hour later, 2 hours later.
Nobody thinks about that. They just think that they feel that way because of something else. They look at the meal as the meal, and I ate it, and when I walked out of there, I wasn't keeling over. Obviously, the food must have been good, right?
Jeez.
Then they go to their doctor, and they say, oh, doc, I'm really tired all the time. Oh, my gosh. And the doctor doesn't say, well, are you tired after you're eating? Let's look at your diet. He goes, oh, I got a blue pill for that. And then all of a sudden, the blue and the red and the yellow and the pink pill all start coming.
What are we going to do?
I'm working on trying to, after having a son and now a daughter and realizing that I'm absolutely responsible. Like my wife and I are solely responsible for their outlook on the world and their health, moving forward. While we still don't make the best choices every time, we try to make better choices than we've seen in the past.
Would that be like the lollipop picture with the
what I
Coke can?
What I said was
That's your son
we don't
sat in
make
his
the
high
best
chair.
choices all of the time, but we're trying to make better choices. Like growing up, all the things that I would be allowed to have growing up that, I thought nothing, like I would go into the kitchen when I was like 5 years old and stick a spoon in like marshmallow whip, and big spoonful of marshmallow whip. And it's like never thought twice about it. And, I'm just trying not to have those things in my house. And, it really hit me when I was at my son's preschool and noticed kids that were 3 years old, not even 3 years old, some of them overweight. It's like, how is a kid overweight at 3 years old? Like not chubby or not, baby fat, but like legitimately large. And it's like, we got to make better choices,
No question about it. It's all our responsibility. It makes me think of that quote, if it is to be, it's up to me. And that is really the truth when it comes to our health. I had a guy tell me last week, he says, yeah, I'm trying to get my 13-year-old back into shape. I mentioned it on a show. I said, how can your 13-year-old be out of shape? Like, that doesn't even make sense. How could your 13-year-old boy be out of shape? And that's what's going on. It's a serious, serious issue, and you're right. We got to be leaders as kids. So if you want to be a leader of your kids' health and you want to know how Paul Tarek does it and more great diet tips, marshmallow, eating marshmallows out of a jar,
I didn't say that was a great diet tip, all right?
suckers, Coke cans, and grapes that aren't washed, sprayed heavily with pesticides. You stick with us for the rest of the show.
You're listening to Living the Ride on ESPN Radio 1280 The Ticket.
Puma Aquatics team offers year-round swim programming for novice, recreational, and competitive swimmers. For 16 years, Puma has developed some of the fastest swimmers on the Central Coast, as well as the nation. Puma has 3 convenient locations to choose from, providing programming for all of San Luis Obispo County. Puma offers swim assessments for new swimmers on Tuesdays and Thursdays at the SLO Kennedy Club, Atascadero Kennedy Club, and Arroyo Grande High School. For more information about Puma Aquatics, check out pumaswim.org. Join the Puma Pride and challenge yourself to reach new levels in your swimming. Puma Aquatics, where pride, passion, and persistence pay off.
Did you know that many people endure aches and pains in their feet, legs, and back, but few recognize the solution for some of the more common causes are as simple as a more supportive and comfortable insole? At Cadence Insoles, we understand the insole in your shoe provides the first line of support and comfort for your feet. Designed by physical therapists and recommended by podiatrists, Cadence insoles provide the elusive combination of orthotic support with the shock-absorbing comfort of an insole. A local business? Visit cadenceinsoles.com for more information. Cadence Insoles. Support made comfortable.
Folks, when it comes to the health of my teeth, I will not compromise, and neither should you. It's time you go where my wife and I go. Go see Dr. Ryan Ross. I get it. Not everyone loves a dentist, and heck, even a few of you out there are scared to death of these offices. Bad past experiences? Well, you ever had a bad haircut? How about a bad meal somewhere? You didn't stop getting your hair cut, and you certainly didn't stop eating, so stop ignoring your teeth. Dr. Ross's gentle approach, calming demeanor, and office full of upbeat staff put your dental fears to rest. Conveniently located in a great little house on Marsh Street downtown, Dr. Ross's office exudes the highest level of professionalism, mixed with an atmosphere much like your own home. Look, nobody's in a rush here. It's not a get 'em in, get 'em out atmosphere. Every time I'm in Dr. Ross's office, it's like I'm the only guy that matters. No distractions, just full focus on my oral health. If you're interested in the highest quality in dental care and want to walk out of the office every time with a smile, call Dr. Ryan Ross today, 541-5800.
We're back with Living the Run.
One more segment. This one brought to you by Left Lane Sports. Gear you need, prices you want, service you deserve. Paul, you got to get on this website, Left Lane Sports. You know, in your absenteeism from the show, you probably didn't even realize Left Lane Sports has been a sponsor with us. These guys, I'm telling you, they hit all the top brands. If you're into outdoor stuff at all,
I've perused their goods.
Ugh,
Their wares are phenomenal.
Phenomenal. And if you like things like
60%
off, 70% off, 80% off. Don't do that when you're going to buy meat. Do that when you're going to buy a snow jacket. Go to leftlanesports.com. But, you know, it cracks me up because you're talking about that with the deals guys get when they go on barbecue. And it is just ridiculous. And if somebody does tell you, check out the deal I got on this meat, you don't want to eat it.
Yeah, it's like eye surgery. You don't bargain shop for eye surgery. My steak does not need to be the cheapest thing in the supermarket. Yeah.
So what is your schedule going to be like here? Is this going to be, again, a regular occurrence where the listeners can expect the voice that has made living, certainly not the face, but the voice, the voice that has brought Living the Run to its epic levels here on ESPN 1280
I believe
Ticket.
we're going to return to the older days where I would be in attendance a little more often. Do we had another baby? The wife's like, you got to work. You go back to work. I'm like, oh, babe, I got the show tonight. And she's like, you need to go get money. I'm like, oh, man.
How is it going in the household? You know, I think about this so much, and you know our listeners do too, especially young families. You got the couple of young ones. Oftentimes, it just sleep is at a premium. You know, it comes down to that, and so when you start messing with that, sometimes the schedule feels even a little more full than it might even be, just because sleep is sometimes down. What's it been like?
It's Yeah, nail on the head. No, right now my wife is off of work, so she's able to, be home with the kids, and she's the one that gets up with them at night on the nights that I'm working, and usually even the nights that I'm not, just because that's kind of her routine and what she's doing now. But I do not know how society would survive, how it could even make it past a generation if men were solely left in charge of babies. I don't have that compassion gene for a crying baby in the middle of the night. I don't have that. I want to soothe it. It's like I want to soothe it because I want it to stop crying and go back to sleep. It's like I'm not going to get all crazy and angry, but I am going to be frustrated and like, and it's like maybe that right there is why paleo man or caveman man was like 30-year-old lifespans, because they had babies when they were like 28, and then they just got so stressed out after that they're like couldn't take it.
Or maybe it's because they couldn't handle the wound care when they were taking on the saber-toothed tiger.
Yeah, well, man, who knows? We weren't there.
The infections were too great.
But to be honest,
Shiloh's hanging tough. I mean, one of the things that we talk about so much on this show is the balance, and this is a tough time. Nursing mom.
There's no balance right now, and with the understanding that you have to move back towards that balance point. Maybe even go the other way sometimes. A little self-spoiling down the road as they get a little more stable. But right now my wife is incredible, and she does an incredible job, and I don't know how she does it. Like with one of them, you thought you were a parent and you had one, and then you have a second one and you realize like what you were doing before was like child's play, and what are you doing now? And then you start thinking of, I have a friend with 5 children, and I'm like, how do you do that? And then I think, I know a single mom, 2 children, both of them on her own every day, and I have no clue how they can make that work, and then work and go to school and do these things, and it just gives me a whole new respect for the things that you just overlook in life, the things you don't really think are important, or you're like, oh, I never even thought about that, the struggles that some people have.
Yeah, human capacity, absolutely incredible. I love the analysis too, because it's a lot like what Dr. Chestnut, guest we had on the show, talked a little bit about, this idea of homeostasis. Are we getting our body and the things that we're doing in our activities to get ourselves to work at its maximum level that a scientist would call homeostasis, or are we moving it further towards disease? And that you don't just wake up with disease, but it's this process on this continuum. In which direction are you going on the continuum? You going more towards disease or more towards homeostasis? In your case, more towards a functioning family with less stress, or away from that and more dysfunctional? Real quick, tips and takeaways from tonight's show.
I love what she said about the Ironman. You have a plan, and things are going to come, and things are going to happen, and you just figure out how to deal with them and move on. And that doesn't just apply to a race or a competition; it just applies to life. And I think when people, myself included, can adopt that mentality and really live that mentality, I think we'll be a lot happier.
Yeah, Karen. Karen's just remarkable in so many different ways, and I think that, that quote that you made me think of just a little bit earlier, my tip and takeaway is, if it is to be, it is up to me. And Karen is a classic example of that. She didn't cry over this thing at all. It's, hey, if I want to do an Ironman again, it's up to me. I got to put in the training. I got to figure out how to use a prosthetic leg. Brilliant example of living the run, for sure. Well, next week?
I believe so.
Olympia next week, folks. The CJ Silas Show is next. Don't forget to tune into the Slow Late Show. We've got a great guest next week, Fabrizio Mancini. Talk a little health and wellness. Live healthy, folks. Live bold.